horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
And a very warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Inquiry midweek Goodwood and Galway update. My name's Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk, and there's just two of us chewing the fat this evening and coming with some big selections hopefully in the next couple of days. As always, John Leng of John Joe's Blogspot on Facebook. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Lee.
Yes, and today we witnessed Alcohol Free winning its third Group 1. Some interesting rides in behind, which we'll probably talk about in a second. But first of all, John, just a few talking points before we get onto these tips and everything else. How do you feel the way the watering is going? Because for me, it's getting ridiculous, and starting a festival on heavy ground, despite having 2/3 of the month in 27-degree temperatures. I just find beyond ridiculous.
Well, I thought it was a bit ridiculous, Lee, when I saw, I think it was Thursday or Friday last week, and his advance going forecast was good. I thought, well, how the hell they got it down to good?
Yeah.
I thought, well, it has to be good to firm, surely to God. But
yeah.
I thought, no. And I think the ghost of Seamus still sits astride the throne at Goodwood. I noticed on ITV today, Seamus has got himself a nice little sit down there doing them tours where they pile half a dozen race goers into a minivan and take them down to the start to give them a taste of the action.
All right.
Yeah. Seamus is doing his MC bit. It's MC Seamus. Telling them what's going on and where the best ground is and everything.
Yeah,
he's always had a remarkable touch for the self-publicity as Al Seamus, and I see in retirement he's talked himself into a nice little retirement job there.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched ITV much, I'll be honest, because obviously I've been playing and so I've had Racing UK on, but I mean, has anything been said against Clark? Have you heard anything in media or any pundits speak out against this Clark for this, or?
I think somebody might have mentioned his tie clashed with his jacket one morning. That was probably it, I mean, we all know these Clarks do a tremendous job in difficult circumstances, don't they?
Absolutely.
If only they had access to weather forecasts like the rest of us, they'd probably find it an awful lot easier. Yeah,
I'm going to say, the days of the internet now, there's some terrific pieces of software you can subscribe to or whatever. You don't even have to subscribe to it. Everything's free on the Met Office, whatever. But if you want to go back that bit further, farmers do it. They pay for better forecasts, don't they, for the crops, everything. That's probably useless as well. But I mean, I had to laugh though, like you say. We're forecasted 10 mils, he said, at the weekend. It was good ground on the Thursday, and he'd stopped watering on Thursday, but he watered it down to good, knowing that there was 10 millimetres. Now, you wouldn't have known if it were going to be 15, 20 millimetres, 25 millimetres, 5 millimetres. So why has he done that? I mean, that's the...
I often remember Seamus starting this meeting on good to soft and going on the telly, and whether it was Jim McGrath or that other idiot on BBC, just letting him spout on and call it beautiful ground, beautiful, safe ground. And we all know it's a load of cobblers, but nobody in the media will challenge it, will they? So this is the ridiculous state of affairs we're left with.
I mean, to me, it's a big problem for punters, and I've no doubt. By the way, folks, we've got an interesting guest on Friday, Nick Davis. Joins us on Friday, and he always has a lot to say about the Clarks and the water, and he's been following it for years, and he understands the game totally on this and how frustrating it is for punters when you line up your bets and right, we'll play for good to firm. That's what the Clark says, and then it turns up good to soft, and they knock in the mud and tops off, and the times are 4 and 5 seconds slow for 7 furlongs, And that's the frustrations as a punter you get. There's no confidence in the game. No one calls them out like John says. No one's prepared to call them out at any point. It's just, it's just let's move on. It's a disgrace of a game. Interesting though, John. The Redcar today. I never knew they used to have a 3-day meeting at this time of year. Must have forgot that. But apparently, according to Racing TV today, they used to have a 3-day meeting on when it was glorious Goodwood.
But it was a bit of a nuisance. Mind you, it stopped me having to attend Goodwood on several occasions. So about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I want to speak to you about. That the bias, it's like the okey-cokey at Redcar lately. I mean, literally, for some meetings earlier this year, low numbers were just absolutely ludicrous. And last back-end low numbers, like for the 2-year-old trophy, were ludicrous for low numbers. All of a sudden, if you watch today, if you're drawn low today, you might as well, I think
it used to be the case, I mean, until what they did originally, they put a running rail in about 1990-ish, because there was such a massive high bias on the straight course. You could literally back 6, if there was a big field handicap between 5 furlongs and a mile, you could back the 6 lowest drawn if the prices were there, and you just sit back and wait to collect, to be honest. It was a marvellous thing, to be honest, I mean, punters couldn't fall off. And they put this bloody running rail in, and almost overnight the bias just went to hell. And it's been no real help to punters ever since. What I would say is, I think when they get a bit of rain on, I definitely think you want to be drawn low on that straight course, or certainly somebody with the savvy to get across over to the far side.
Yeah, but like today, so basically they've been watering. It was good, and I don't blame them because there's not been any rain up there. I've checked, and then last night they had 19 mils. A decent little thunder shower. 19 mil fell yesterday. It was riding good. Slow side of good. I think it rode today, but the low numbers, the far side, were useless. It's as if it's as if Ladbrokes have come along. But I noticed Phil Berry's not Clark there at the moment. There's an acting Clark there at the moment. So I don't know what's going off there. But so I mean, as Ladbrokes fan,
they haven't a Clark there for Yonks actually. Is it John Joe Sanderson still stepping in?
Steve, I think it's Stephen somebody. I forget. I did look this morning.
John Joe Sanderson was covering. I know that for probably 2 or 3 years. I mean, they'll never get one as bad as John Gundale was.
Yeah,
he was absolutely useless. I mean, he had that card abandoned, when the ground was unsafe, and they interviewed him on what was Racing UK at the time. And they said, well, when you walk the course, you realise the ground was unsafe. He said, I walk the course to determine the going, not to say whether it's safe or not.
Yeah.
With a straight face, I mean, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he's looking after some big house down in the Shires now as well.
Interesting. So, punting at Redcar, folks. The future at the moment is chuck balls in the air. We don't know because it was low earlier this season. Today it looked good towards middle to stand side. I would say it's tricky there at the moment. Who knows where the bias is going to show up next meeting? But when the bias does, like John says, when the bias does kick in at Redcar,
I think when it's naturally good to soft, and they haven't been watering, I think that's when you can confidently play the low draw bias.
Yeah.
But when they've been watering, I don't think the watering is terribly even, to be honest. If you get rain on top of that, I think it names in a hat.
Okay, good advice, John. Right, second sort of thing I was wanting to bring up, obviously Johnny G and the slim Thursday was on camera to tell everybody why they'd withdrawn the big Strad in the bidding for a fifth Goodwood Cup. I mean, not being done. It could have been immortal status, but Johnny G thought the ground was it's heavy.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think personally, I think he probably thinks he'll probably put up a barnstorming performance in the Lonsdale, and I don't think he wanted him bottoming on the ground myself. I think he maybe thought he could run really well like yesterday. Maybe would have even won, but I think he's more likely to get his optimum conditions in the Lonsdale, and it's only like, what, 2.5 weeks away, so
Yeah.
I think he's probably had an eye on that, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, obviously, I took a different take on it. That I just think they want everything. I think they know that horse is not the horse it was, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
I think it's, they know that it had probably got beat on that ground, and I reckon, and they thought, well, like you said, we could say it. I see your point of view, but I mean, I'm adamant that in the Gold Cup, people were saying it's unlucky. When it got out in the clear, it didn't show any of its old zip, and I just wonder if it's the same horse myself. But like you said, they probably didn't want it sort of well beat and bottomed out on that ground.
I mean, they've had a shellacking off Troshan anyway on soft ground, haven't they? So they probably thought, well, we'll get stuck if we run against this on this surface. So we'll wait for York. Okay,
John. So interesting to see Strad at York. It'd be good for punters to go and see him. Next on the list, it's been a busy week. We're only on Wednesday. We've got 3 days to go. We've had quite a busy week. The good old Flockton Grey turning up yesterday at Galway yesterday evening. If you haven't seen Jesse Harrington's, I forget the name, it's Adrazine or Alazine. It was a 2-year-old maiden, and sadly, they got it mixed up with a 3-year-old filly rated 79 called Aurora Princess, which duly bolted up and landed some rather large bets, backed in from sort of 10-1 right down to 4-1 on the off, and well bet on the exchanges as well. Some will say, it's a plot, it's a ringer. Others will say, well, it was just an accident. John, any thoughts on this and the Irish Horse Racing Board?
Third world racing at its absolute best. I mean, I just don't think this would happen in France. I don't think it would happen in America. I mean, we just shit, really. We are. They've got bloody microchips in, for God's sake.
Yeah. Well, the scanning. I mean, right. So the in this country, they get scanned pre-race. So there can't be any errors. So basically, the horses are not. I mean, to be fair, it has happened here. That's how bad they are. But they get scanned pre-race. In Ireland, for some bizarre reason, they get scanned post-race. I mean, what's all that about? Why would you scan a horse post-race? Why would you want that's the bit I don't get. So they scan the horses after the race, which is bizarre. And another issue I've got on this, and I want to hear your views on this in particular, is that so the Irish stewards have disqualified the horse. Well, to me, that could be legally challenged, because basically, right? How can punters lose the money on a horse that hasn't raced? They've backed the 2-year-old, not the 3-year-old filly. So why is it fair that it should be a non-runner, surely, in a Rule 4, shouldn't it, John?
I think that's a fantastic theory, actually. I'll be honest with you, Lee, I hadn't considered that, but I mean, that's absolutely bang on the money. You backed a horse there that hasn't run, and basically you've done your coining.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's like it's an imposter. So therefore, because they check afterwards and not see if they check beforehand and they've put the wrong horse in the box or whatever, right? And it's a genuine error. Yeah. Then it's simple. It's just that withdrawn by stewards, non-runner, wrong horse brought to track. I mean, it's that simple. But then afterwards, then to say punters, no, you've done your money. You've backed out. You've done it in. That is just beyond bizarre. I'd have called it a non-runner. Simple as.
Yeah, I mean, I've never backed one of these, so I don't know how I'd react. But I think now you mention it, I would probably be thinking, well, Man never ran.
Well, that's it. If you've backed it on Betfair, say pre-played, you've put your whatever 50 quid on or whatever, or you've gone to make a cup of tea and you've come back and you've seen freeze frame. Oh, it's got up nicely, lovely. And then you're thinking you're getting winnings. Never mind. So then Stewart's inquiry, wrong horse. You're thinking, well, why should you get punished for them taking a wrong horse at track or some numbskull not? But I'd say not doing the job right, but they're doing the job right because clearly they just scan them post race, which is quite bizarre. Why you would scan them post race? I mean, that's just opening things up for abuse. I mean,
it's insane, isn't it? Really, I mean, God. I mean, what happens with these bogies that paid double result then? Have people been paid out on this?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I've not. I mean, usually I do some digging on Twitter to have a look to see who's moaning and who's groaning and who's, on this. But I've not seen much on it in terms of. I don't know if bookies have paid out on both. I don't know if I don't know. Please get in touch with us on Twitter and let us know because I honestly don't know. But obviously, if you bet on Betfair like I do, I would feel very aggrieved, say, playing in running, taking the 101 or the 1.05 close to the line for a right few, thinking, well, listen, add 105, yeah, we'll click there, yeah, it's going to win. And you've done a packeting because you're betting in good faith, and to me that should have just been a void bet.
And that's 10 days gone. God bless you, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if I were taking another level of Betfair, I would have avoided the in-running market. I'd have just said it's a void race. I know if you back to win a tough, or you back the second tough. If you back, it's just a void in-running market. And then pre-play, you just settle it as a non-runner with the rule 4 on the winner. So
that's it. Get fined then.
Oh, well, she should do. I mean, the thing is, Kevin O'Brien, what do you call Kevin? Is it Kevin Ryan or Kevin O'Brien on the racing TV? He stands there with Jesse Harrington every day, and apparently people were moaning because he was just saying, "Oh, it's unfortunate," and it's just like
he's a tit then, isn't he? Really, if you're saying that, because I mean, it's not unfortunate; it's just utter stupidity.
Yeah, it's pretty mental. But anyway, so let us know anyway if you've been affected by the Galway ringer yesterday, if it's affected you with a big in-running bet, or just let us know. Drop us a tweet, and I'd be quite happy to.
Ringer, it sounds like somebody in Ireland going around conducting sexual assault.
Yeah, it does really. Yeah. So let us know. Right, on to your favourite trainer now, Mark Johnston. Right? This is incredible. Again, this is the second time this season. We're only in July. He's done it once already. I think he went about 50 losers earlier in the year without a winner. Now he's gone 30 runners without a winner as Johnston. He's got Sir Ron Priestley retired. He's ran that about 17 times since April after having a leg. What's the vet doing, John, this year?
I mean, this again comes back to my point on the stats on watered ground. I mean, to all intents and purposes, Sir Ron Priestley has suffered a career-ending injury on heavy ground. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Watered ground. Yeah.
However, according to the stats, it's just heavy ground. Nobody's actually saying he's suffered a career-ending injury on watered heavy ground.
Yeah.
Just the same as if it had been good to firm ground and had been watering.
Yeah.
That is why there's no stick to hit these clerks with regarding overwatering, because there's no stats.
Don't you think though? Right. This is how society thinks, right? So you have firm ground at Bath, right? If they come round last bend at Bath and one, back leg goes on one, it starts swinging round.
Yeah.
The Twitter would go berserk, saying that's cruel, firm, hard ground. That's terrible. There's no wonder that horse has broke its leg. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But because it's sort of soft ground and, like you say, watered, nothing has ever been said or touched upon that, well, maybe that this ground is not perfectly safe for these horses to run. It's just an in thing that we've done, like Nick Davies pointed out with the going sticks, and how the going sticks, Ascot Good to Firm used to be in the high 8.8s. Now it appears 7.8s Good to Firm.
You'd think the stick had been recalibrated when you say these ridiculous readings that they're dishing out, and it hasn't. They're just watering the living shit out of these courses.
Yeah, it's. I mean, certainly the topsoil. I mean, I fear for the sport the way this is going, and I don't know if there's a sign of the times, because obviously we've got PETA, we've got animal cruelty, we've got panorama, we've got everything against racing and doing safe, and yet Bath has just been fantastic for years. They get full fields, big fields, 14 runners, 12 runners. The only instances I've known at Bath where it's dangerous is when they've got firm ground, John. They get a downpour and they start slipping up bend. But that's a natural occurrence. That's not the fault of the course. That's just the fault of the elements that's come down, and it's caused the bends to be slippy. And I've known them try to sand the bends, and they've had to abandon some meetings at Bath when that occurs for safety reasons. Which again, that's perfectly acceptable. But there we go. I think this is where we're at. It's very, very frustrating. Anyway, the part of the show where me and John now will try and increase our winnings. I apologise on the site. I put John's selection Austrian Theory and Pleasant Man down in the wrong races. Austrian Theory, I mean, like John pointed out on the initial podcast, was due for the Nursery, and John was absolutely spot on, because I think if Austrian Theory had ran off 89, I think that would even broke the KILT's none from 30 duck the way it ran in that stakes race on the opening day. So it was a good shout from John, really, that anyway.
He can't even do me a favour, that bastard. he has one runs well that I've picked.
Yeah.
And he still can't do me a favour because he sticks it in the wrong race, the flaming goon.
I mean, I think a few of our Twitter followers, Ian Davis, a few others, have picked up on that as well and said, how far would that have won the Nursery? He's very frustrating. Frustrating bit of placing, really, from the KILT. Anyway, right, so we'll go on to Goodwood tomorrow. We're looking at possibly further drying ground. There's not a deal of rain forecast. It rode soft today on the times for me still. There wasn't much good to soft in there on the times. So I would imagine tomorrow it does have the potential to possibly go good to soft, but it will be soft side. I don't think we'll see any good or anything, but tomorrow is likely to possibly be the best ground day, because there's potentially more rain Friday and Saturday. So, John, the principal races tomorrow. Anything in the 150, the opener? Alphadel is the market leader, 11-2 for Roger Varian. Anything in that?
At risk of going blogger already, I rather like that one. I think that can run really well tomorrow. I don't think there's any issue with the ground, despite him getting beaten a bit at Ascot on soft. I think he's absolutely fine on the ground. And plus, I want to take Aryan Power on, because all his form's been on quicker ground. Sill's back on, which I don't even know if that's a good replacement.
Ooh, terrible.
For the blighted Mark Crean, so I definitely want to take that on. The KILT's got 5 in the race. I don't think they want to get involved with him anymore this week. And the only other one really would be Patient Dream. I think goes there, a horse in form. Couldn't have the Haggis one, Terror Shot, because it's got Liam Jones in there, who, doesn't know 15 mile an hour from 31, does he? So I certainly couldn't be backing him. And it just leaves a very, very short list. And I think the Varian horse is probably still got a bit of improvement in it. I'd expect that to win the first.
Yeah, can't really argue with that. I do like Alphadel as a horse. I'm not going to put up a selection myself in the race. Aryan Power I was against because of obviously two things: D'Souza in the saddle, and bearing in mind that the race at Doncaster, it wasn't a very unlucky loser, obviously, because of Mark Crean's mistake. But the runners it was running against, this is, wasn't really of well handicapped quality. It wasn't a great race, and like as I said, I think that's vulnerable, especially with him on board. I think he's a hindrance. So John with Alfredel, and I can't really knock that as a selection. I think it's an horse going forward. I think it's a nice horse, really do. But I'm offering no selection, John, with Alfredel. 225 is the Richmond Stakes tomorrow, John, over 6 furlongs. Asymmetric was my choice in the July Stakes. Just touched off 5-2 favourite. Gubas 7-2. That was the winner of the Super Sprint last week. Tidy little field, competitive little affair. Any views here?
I'd just echo that, really, Lee. I think it's a tight little field, and I don't really want to get involved, to be honest.
No, I'd agree. Only thing I'd mention is maybe collateral form analysts, that's the gin, would maybe just look at maybe Giza Sub of Kevin Ryan's. Obviously, that beat Hello My Darling and Sam Maximus at Pontefract. Sam Maximus came out and then finished third to Lucille in the July Stakes, and that's 16-1. And the favourite is obviously 5-2, just from a simple collateral form angle. But I've really no opinion. I might just have a little bit on Giza Sub at big prices, just for a bit of sport. 3 o'clock is the 1.5 John Pierce Racing Gordon Stakes. One of my favourite races on the calendar because it opens up the ledger angles. It's a Group 3 affair, and I think me and John might just tackle this in a bit more depth than the last race. 11-4 favourite currently is Wordsworth. John, take it away.
Very interesting race, this. I mean, you got third round that's got a verdict over the Derby winner, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And he's up against something that couldn't win a Queen's Raz. So I'd have to fancy third round to beat Wordsworth.
Yeah.
Starters. If you're looking at collateral form that you referred to earlier. The one I am a bit curious about is Bellocchio. Now, Sergeant Wilson's carrying on with this, isn't he, in this sort of grade? And really, you'd say he's probably crackers to be doing that. And what the bloody thing's showing. I mean,
yeah.
He ran with a bit of promise behind a Lenquer, I thought. But then the Dante was a bit of a miserable effort. And then Ascot, the less said about that, the better. And yet he's persevering. But I think the interesting fact is he's had David Egan on it twice. Then he had the blighted at Sill last time, trying to make all over 12 at Ascot. And now we've got O'Sheen taking the King's Shilling to ride. I just have a hunch this has a bit more to offer yet. It's a grand stamp of horse, this, and his comments in the post tonight as well, saying he hasn't given up on it. He just wants to find the key to it. I'm not saying it's going to win, but I think that this thing has a performance in it.
It's really interesting you say this, because I tweeted yesterday on my personal account about how, like, Migration pissed up on the Thursday. Iron Hands was on at Salisbury, D'Souza, and Buick was on Goodwood. And the difference in ride and just the coolness, the way he brought it through, everything else. Right, so like you said, you make a very good point. So the last year, he's obviously thought this is a horse because he starts it off, like you say, at Sandown in classic trial. And then he goes to the Dante, and fair enough, we can forgive a horse at York. And then obviously Iron Hands at Ascot last time. And the switch difference from D'Souza to Buick was marked, I felt, for Migration for this trainer the other day. And like you said, D'Souza to Murphy could see immense improvement. 18-1, John. I think it's a great selection, that. Certainly, like you say, you've mentioned third realm. You're right with that. Me personally, in this race, I'm against the Ballydoyle pair, Wordsworth and Sir Lucan. The simple reason being, Wordsworth is absolutely gearless. It's a high class gearless horse, but it's gearless. It will run at one speed. I don't see Goodwood being its port of call. There's a headwind in the straight tomorrow. they're going to go forward with it. Brian's picked it over Salucan. That's a suspicious absence of 75 days for me, because they run everything in the Irish Classics or the English. So 75 days off is a little bit of and it's very weak in the betting. So I wonder what's sort of gone wrong with that in the interim. And Ottoman Emperor won't be good enough for me on what I've seen in Ireland, beating handicappers. And the two to concentrate on for me are Third Realm and Yabir. Yabir won the Bahrain Trophy. I thought it was impressive in that. Can't knock it. It's very solid form. Ties in with Third Realm. Third Realm, I think, is the right favourite. That should usurp Wordsworth as the favourite. But I like your selection at 18s. You've convinced me on that at the prices. So yeah, that's a great call, John. So I think we're on the same page there. I'm against Ballydoyle. I'll be taking on Wordsworth. Can't have that winning. And because, I mean, Salucan beat it at Navan. It were basically, if you watch them, they're two slow barges in the closing stages. They were just like literally going up and down on the spot. And yeah, it's quite.
In the travels around here, don't you? I know it's a mile and a half, but you need to travel so you can get a position and go where you want when you want. And you couldn't really see either of them doing that.
No. So I'm Third Realm, Yabir, and John's excellent shout at a big 18-1 for the Frenchman, Bellocchio, with O'Sheen, the man in form. That catches my eye. We go on to the Nassau, a lovely race, really. I'm not saying this is top class. It could have been better because you could have had Snow Lantern, obviously, taking this option, which probably would have been better the way Spencer rode it today. But the Nassau Ordaya is 7-4 favourite, Breeders' Cup heroine, and ran a perfectly adequate race in the Prince of Wales, although the Prince of Wales is taking a lot of knocks at the moment, form-wise. John, views here?
Well, the Fanshawe filly's probably the form choice. I mean, she's got form at the distance, whereas Lady Bowthorpe hasn't. Joan of Arc still needs to step up, really. I mean, she's probably one of the worst out of her family at the minute. You know, she's so well bred, and yet she's 811. You'd think, wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Yet when you look at some of the siblings, Jesus Christ, she could yet turn out to be pretty darn good, because some of these fillies that Aidan runs 17 times in a season, so just don't seem to reach a plateau, do they? Just find a pig here and there. So, I mean, it's a race I can't really work out, because I'm not really sure how it'll be run. I think Frankie might end up making the running on Empress Josephine, actually. And, I mean, that's a classic horse. So, I mean, that could be hard to pass if he got a softie. I don't want to play in the race, to be honest.
Do you know, me and you should be sort of, either I come up to you or you come down to me, but we should be gin and pating, because whilst it's fascinating, like you've just summed it up perfectly. Like Ordaya, for me, takes time to get going in the season. Like if you look at her profile, like she really got going towards the autumn last year, and I reckon because they won at the Breeders' Cup last year, that's where she'll be heading at the end of this season again for a tilt in America. And she'll get better and better as season goes on. So I agree why that's favourite. Joan of Arc, I take it on board what you said about the pedigree. It is immense. That mare, it's like the mare of mares that's produced Joan of Arc. Lady Bowthorpe is interesting, but
it's a Western super mare, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I urge anyone just to click on the Racing Post pedigree on that page, and just, if you've not done it before, you'll just die when you see what that mare's produced. Lady Bowthorpe obviously up to 10 for the first time. That's an issue for me. I love the mare because she should have won the Falmouth. She was very unlucky in the Falmouth. Willie Jarvis were in tears. Will he be in tears again? Empress Josephine, I think, is interesting up in trip. She shaped in the Irish Guineas when she beat Joan of Arc that she wants the trip. Luigi in the saddle. I didn't fancy Zayada of Roger Varians. I think the form's took knocks. The Cheshire Oaks form is not what maybe I thought it was earlier in the season. So it's a very interesting race, and whatever you decide, I hope that's helped or steer you in the right direction. The 410 Goodwood, John, is the ITV. Is that finale? I think for the day, or the no, it's the ITV finale. It's the 7 furlong Nursery that you should have been lumping on overnight, smashing the back doors of Austrian Theory. The KILT stopped you from doing that. He's got on his plane. He's fucked off back to Midland, and he said, "Fuck you, John." Adjuvant 7-2, market leader. Any views now in the Nursery, John?
Yeah, Mav, yeah, if the KILT doesn't win this with one of them he's left in, he's a wanker. That's just the end of my involvement in this race, because I'm just bitter.
Badly bitter. Right. I've got a big price one here. And it's possibly one of my best bets at Goodwood tomorrow. Already gone of Stan Moores. John Egan takes the ride again. I did have a little tickle on this last time at Leicester. I first noticed this horse, John. I've noticed it all season actually. It's a big brute of a horse, very lengthy. It's got a lot of improvement to come. The only reason why you get big prices is because it's Stan. If this was trained by a big prominent Newmarket trainer, you would not get odds like what's on offer. When this ran at Salisbury behind Seattle King and Broadspear, it was drawn on the wrong part of the track. He made his challenge out wide. It was favouring the far side. That day it was very far side bias. All day. Anyone that watches the racing can check that the 23rd of June at Salisbury was the far rail, and Already Gone was drawn 11. Thick John came down the middle and with his challenge, and he stayed on real nice into third. Well, if you look at the first two in that Salisbury race, they both got Champagne Stakes entries, both of them. They look very impressive in appearance. Seattle King and Broadspear, very good horses. And then obviously Already Gone 10-1 last time into 13-2. Absolutely pissed up in a Leicester Nursery off 71 because it's Stan Moore. It'd have been 13-8 if it had been trained by Johnny Reputable from Newmarket. And this is a nice horse. Stan has got an absolute belter here, physically everything. He's got the lot. Obviously this is a stiff task. Stall 13 as well, but I cannot put anyone off at a whopping 25-1 with Bet365. 20s available elsewhere, 18s. Avail yourself. This is a nice horse. Whatever it does tomorrow, it's a nice horse, real nice horse. So Already Gone for me on the first day. On the first day of this preview, is my best bet tomorrow. We'll move on to Friday, but before we do, Catherine Fry has been on to me, and she says tomorrow in the Galway Hurdle, she's not playing herself, but she finds it very interesting that Emmett Mullins took out 0-10, which was also strongly fancied, and left Cape Gentleman in the Galway Hurdle. On the form book, you'd say Belfast Banter, but we all know Magic Carrots are involved, obviously, in races of this nature. So, and obviously Emma as the big carrots. So Cape Gentleman, Catherine thought was interesting. The form book says Belfast Banter, but she says have a look at Cape Gentleman in the Galway Hurdle. On Friday, we start with the Unibet 3 boosts a day, whatever boost that is. I mean, it sounds some kind of vaccinated rubbish to me, but boosts. What's a boost? Oh, price boost. Class 2, 0-105 handicap, over 2 miles, 4.5 furlongs, John. The big sort of flag start stayers race at the Goodwood Festival. I think myself and Richmond have gone head to head here with best bets of the meeting. I've gone for Green Book, which is a monstrous 14-1. How on earth can that be 14-1 when you've got the Grand Vizier 8-1? It was 2.5 lengths behind it in the Queen Alex, and he's £16 better off. £16. Imagine lugging that up and down Dale round there. Well, Green Book will go forward. It suits front runners. I think Green Book runs a monster race tomorrow at 14-1. That's my absolute stonker of a bet. I've already backed it at 16s. I'm going to go in again if it's still 14s. That's just stupid. I do respect Andy's selection, Richmond, that was on our podcast, Elysian Flame. John, what's your thoughts on the first?
I'm perfectly happy to rock along with yourself and Andy and have a little Dutch of those two, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only thing I could add to the first is, I say, Mr. Simcock is once again cocking a snook at John Cook and partner, Brad Plonkin Smart champion in this. Our turn will be nigh very soon with this horse, because just by accident, he'll plop it in somewhere where it can actually win. And this horse is getting very, very, very well handicapped.
Do you know what I'd do then for you, right, tomorrow? So I'd make sure you don't lose on Smart Champion or just Hubert. This won the race last year, and you put it up last time, if you remember.
Didn't like the ground last time. It'd be a lot better on this ground.
Yeah, good claimer as well in Ray Dawson. So so a combination forecast, folks, here. Elysian Flame, Just Hubert, Smart Champion under Safi, and my choice, Green Book, to make the trifectas, superfectas, whatever you're going to do. Let's hit the jackpot. Let's hit the Hong Kongers with a big start to the day. We move on to the 225. It's the Bonham's Thoroughbred Group 3, and Baid, which is the horse that I wanted to see in the Sussex. John, thoughts here? Odds on favourite about 8 to 11. Is that a bet or not a bet?
Not for me, no. I'd much sooner just watch this. I think he'll win, but I've got enough doubts on the ground and whatever. Yeah, I know he's won on good to soft, but he can win for me at that price. Yeah.
I agree. It's a pay race. I think it's a race that you want. I think you're in my camp here. You want it to win by about 4 or 5. I think.
Yeah.
For the shagging shirt, so it comes out 4 buttons undone, for the interview after.
We need him involved in one of these big male championship races at the end of the season. I think this is the way to take him there, isn't it? Yeah. It's one of them, and I think as a racing fan, anyone you want this one to bolt up. Blogger and Stallion will be turning up with the wads of cash. Stallion will be flashing the cash and saying this is the week's absolute banker. But me and John will be sat there wanting it to win, and then the consolation is if it don't win, then Blogger and the Stallion are circle jerking for cash. Right, we move on to the Golden Mile handicap, and I've got a good stat here for you, John, because I like to lead you in with a good stat to see if it makes any difference, which it never does. But the Golden Mile last 10 years, right? Yeah. 10 3-year-olds have managed to get in the race. So 10 3-year-olds, 3 have won, right? And in 2013, they had the forecast. In 2012, they had the first and third. So here, we've got Ross Collin for the Dixons, for the horse watchers, 10 to 1, and we've got Carter for the KILT at 16 to 1. The only 3-year-olds in here. Interesting stat, or £8 weight for age it is for this race. But is that interesting, or do you think that's just random bollocks? No, I think it is rather curious. I was actually interested in Plant a Dream here, but obviously he's a reserve. I thought that had all the look of a horse that's been cooped up for a race of this nature, but he hasn't quite managed to get in. So I'm in two minds whether I'm going to play or not, because it is a race where I think the draw is fairly important. And I was thinking Escobar had just about got the ideal draw, and then I saw David O'Meara had booked Jason Watson, and I more or less tore my ticket up at that, to be honest. I know. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Jason not having the best of seasons. Interesting for clock watchers, though. They've swam the channel here because they've got a decent draw in stall 8. That's quite a nice draw. You don't have to do much from there.
and O'Sheen in the saddle as well, and the 3-year-old Stat to boot. And, it's fell right for these guys. I mean, I'm not saying this through gritted teeth or anything. It's just that, the shrewd people, it's just that, Danarf fell on a plate for him. If this is right after 5 days off and it's not the edge off it, the last run in the listed race at Punter, I thought that was interesting, Ross Collin, for the horse watchers. Interesting stat. 3:35 race. It's the big 5 furlong King George Stakes at Goodwood. Batash, unbeaten at this track, John. It's a £10 better horse here, is it not? This could be a Blogger and Stallion special. What do you think here?
Well, it'll depend if the Blogger and Stallion have drawn off the shagging shirts house earlier on, won't it? Really? Because
the big double.
They might be both in the car park wrapping the gums around Vokes Todgers to make sure we've got the bus fare home, otherwise. I honestly can't back Batash at short odds. I think there's enough to suggest this horse isn't as good as he was. He's going to be took on the front end again, like he was at Ascot. It would not surprise me to see Arecibo run another blinder like he did in the King's Stand. I think at 12-1, I could probably look very closely at having a bit on that. Because if we did get a pace, because I know Ascot's completely different, but this, again, I think the pace could collapse here. I haven't really got a strong view other than I don't want to be with Batash at 6-4.
Okay, I'm basically sort of like all over Batash. I think there's a reason he's a lot better here. I think he just suits it's the fastest 5. I could be wrong, but I think it's the fastest 5 in the country at sort of 55 and a bit seconds. And I think this just suits him down to a ground. I think he can take a lead. I think that's the plan. They'll be taking the lead. And I just think he absolutely cruises in again. Ascot he can ignore. He doesn't run Ascot very well. He has won a King's Stand, but as a rule he doesn't run Ascot very well. This is his championship race every season. As much as I love Dragon Symbol, I think Batash will win. I'm quite interested in the 6-4, to be honest. Bearing in mind the race has depth, but he started 2-7 in this race last year. And I mean, his SPs at Goodwood so far, apart from when he beat Profitable as a 3-year-old, it was 8-11, 1-4, and 2-7 in this very race. So now you're getting 6-4. I've seen no evidence that he's in decline, really, because he just doesn't run Ascot. 6-4 is enormous. So Batash for me. Blogger and Stallion, like in a triple circle jerk there. Last race at Goodwood, John, the 4:10. The Queen's Plate Glorious Stakes, a Group 3 event over a mile and a half. Mongol, they've put in it 11-4. You can Glen 4-1. Any views on the ITV finale on Friday?
You look at the rate, you say Mongol should probably shit up, but is it a trustworthy horse? I'm not convinced, to be honest. And the one I have a sneaking fancy for is David O'Mara's Eagles by Day that goes very well fresh. I think this has probably been primed to run a big race first time out. I believe it won the first time last year, I think. I could be wrong.
It did.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. It won second time. Beat Communique at York.
Yeah, actually won the first time for David O'Mara, though, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, that's
from Ding Dong.
Yeah, and I think I think this horse has a bit more to offer yet, and I am very interested to see how this gets on. It's in the Eber, this, and it could be a tune up for the Eber, and if so, anybody betting it's probably done the money. But I don't think it needs a tune up. He's got it in the Irish Ledger, you know. He clearly thinks it's a very useful tool. I don't think there's any issues with the ground. And I think there's enough ones in here with doubts about them to say, well, this is a fair enough each way price, you know.
Yes, I mean, I take what you say. You know, he could certainly surprise here, and he's good odds. You know, 12, 14 to 1 could be an Ebo prep. Who knows? The one that interested me was another O'Sheen ride. Was Passion and Glory. I was shocked at how easy this won at Ascot last time. I just couldn't believe it, and it was a good time. It was no fluke about it. It absolutely lagged up. Beat Fabulous 6, Naval Commander, another 3 1/4 lengths back in third. So that's got beat nearly 10 lengths, Naval Commander. That turned out all right. I know it's handicap, but it ran off 91. Only got beat a length at York next time. That's beat it 10. I just thought that was interesting up in class. Not to get excited, but when you've got Mogul and Big Jim's Yukon Glennet, you know, the 8-year-old, I mean, I'll be honest, it's been very well placed to win its races. You know, it won a very weak Brigadier Gerard on bad ground. You know, it won last time out at Sandown again, the same race. John Leaper run no sort of race. Fox Tal, you know, hasn't really franked the form. Next time, I don't buy the form of Yukon Glen to be 4 to 1. And like you say, I agree with you, Mogul. I think the horse is not 117 is ridiculous. I don't think he's 117 horse ever. So for me, Passion and Glory, I thought was interested for
certainly got potential.
Yeah, for the forgotten man of the Godolphin team, Saeed bin Saror. It's all Charlie these days,
isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Anyway, right. So that's me and John done for the two. I hope you enjoyed that. Just one more thing, Catherine, just to finish the show. 7:10 Galway on Friday. The Blazers handicap, Born by the Sea, is another nap of hers. She's very, very keen on Born by the Sea. She tells me she's so excited by this. It was a tune up the other day on the flat. And this is like the prime race for Born by the Sea. And Catherine this week's had a fantastic week. I feel so sorry for her. She had the Literally Sea, which finished third at monster prices, having traded at about 2 to 1 in running, to about 80 to 1 on Betfair. And then second again last night with a nap of the meeting. Again, did everything right, just found one too good. And I hope this one runs well for her. Born by the Sea, not in the 7:10 at Galway on Friday, the Blazers handicap. I really hope you enjoyed this show from me and John tonight. We enjoyed it. Some good topics and some good tips. And we'll be back on Friday with Zilzal89 on Twitter. That's Nick Davis, good judge. Many know him. He's a lovely guy, and he's a good form judge. So enjoy the rest of Goodwood, and we'll be back on Friday night to go through Saturday's affairs there. Bye from me and John. Bye for now.